I have a real love-hate relationship with the word self-care. For so much of my life, I operated in survival mode. It was always about what I was producing, what I was doing, what I could get done, being more, achieving more. And I was often incredibly hard on myself. It led me to physically, emotionally, and mentally feeling burnt out. I was operating in unsustainable ways, and they produced anxiety, exhaustion, and stress in my life. Becoming a mother tipped me over the edge in the best way possible because it forced me to figure out a new way of being. Ones that involved caring for myself in ways that the marketed self-care industry would never talk about. It wasn't about facials or massages, even though those are nice. It was about creating a more sustainable and new way of being. One that created space for the joy and presence I wanted to experience in my life. These 8 things are true self-care for me. They have allowed me to thrive even in the demanding role of motherhood. I hope these are an encouragement to you no matter what season of life you are in. If you are new here, hi, I'm Jess, and I talk about all things cultivating contentment exactly where you are. Today, I want to share 8 ways I practice self-care that actually work. These have radically changed my life and brought nourishment on a soul level. Number 1, the first way that I practice self-care in a way that actually works, and that is eating enough and nourishing my body. The single worst thing I ever did for my health was chronically restrict my calories and undereat what I needed for my body. And at some points in my life, starve myself. I had to have a complete shift in the way that I saw nutrition because I did not start getting better, like really getting better, seeing my hormone issues like hypothalamic amenorrhea, PCOS, all of these things that I was diagnosed at a very young age heal and become not symptomatic for until I truly focused on nourishing my body and eating enough food. My mindset around food has shifted from one that was obsessed with scarcity, fearing food, being obsessed with limiting food, eating as little as possible, to abundance. Really seeing how much I can nourish myself through food, how I can fuel myself for the kind of life I want to lead, which means robust energy, a full life, full joy, full experiences. I do not skip meals. I prioritize nourishment. I feed myself from cooking from scratch. It is so tempting as a mom to, when I sit her in her chair, think, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to answer this email and I'm going to get this done. I have learned that that is not an option. Mama has to eat first, especially being a mom that up until this week was still nursing day and night. When I'm not prioritizing feeding myself well, I'm more irritable. I struggle with patience more with my kid. I don't sleep as well because it's like that basic survival need has not been met. My blood sugar's all over the place. My stress hormones are high. It's very difficult for me to enjoy the day-to-day moments of my life. In the same way, I would make sure that my toddler's basic needs are met. I do the same thing for myself. The second way I practice self-care in a way that truly works is carving out time for quiet time. I discovered journaling in high school and it was extremely therapeutic for me. As a mom, it does not look quiet most times. It usually involves me reading my Bible, journaling, processing through hard things, writing out my prayers. I totally do this with my daughter around. The candles are not lit. It's not this perfect thing. I want her to see me prioritizing my mental and spiritual health in this way. But I have also found that I do in fact sacrifice those 30 minutes of sleep after she goes down to do this. It leads to a restfulness in a way that in most seasons, those 30 minutes of sleep cannot compare to. If I don't do that, I feel it. I get this emotional restlessness for not processing through the thoughts that I've been having in my mind on the background for a lot of the day. The next way that I practice self-care that really works, simple as it sounds, but I promise you it is life-changing, time outside. I really believe we were designed to be out in creation. And so I do my best right when we wake up. My daughter and I, we step outside, we get that morning light in our eyes. It sets our circadian rhythm. It resets like our heart posture, our mind. Throughout the day, however we can, when weather allows, we're outside. We try to eat outside on good days. We try to go out to the park. We try to hike. We try to do as many things as possible. I love being outside, and it is a way that I truly care for myself. Number 4, way I practice self-care that truly works is I cultivate play in my life. I don't think that women are cultivating play in their life enough. If you're anything like me especially, and you come from a background of being hyper productive, even though I did pursue things that were passionate to me, it was always like I enter a competition to win. Everything had this laser sharp focus of productivity. I remember A few years back, before I became a mom, I was in a really hard season of transition. My husband looked at me and he said, Jess, when was the last time you did something just for fun? When was the last time you cultivated a hobby just because it brought you joy? I started to paint, not very well. I took up archery. I started to learn how to do sourdough. That's when I started going on trail walks a lot. A lot of us can go sometimes years never asking ourselves the question, like, when was the last time that I did something just for fun? Have you wanted to learn to knit? Have you wanted to learn how to make sourdough? Have you wanted to learn to paint? You know, do you like to hike? What are things that you do that cultivate play in your life? Because of this, I'm actually very excited to introduce today's video sponsor, and that is Skillshare.
Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts from film, illustration, interior design, cooking, sourdough, freelance. I mean, so many things you can think of. They help you cultivate new skills and hobbies or learn to grow in old ones. I took Marcus's YouTube class, and as a camera newbie, I am proud to say I finally know what aperture means and basic skills that I'm kind of embarrassed I never knew before. And I took some sourdough classes, and that's what I love. I'm a super newbie in film and YouTube, but I'm more of an expert in sourdough, and there were classes that could fit all of my skill levels. Skillshare is offering the first 500 people that sign up with my link a free 1-month trial. Yes, free for a month. I will link it below in the description. Learn to knit, bake, paint beautiful things, whatever it is. I hope this helps you cultivate play in your life.
Number 5, movement. And I should add an asterisk. Movement that you enjoy. If you're like me and you come from the realm of diet culture, oftentimes movement can immediately mean trying to lose weight, earning your food, or something you do that you hate. We are designed to move. I don't just do it because it makes me feel physically healthier, although that is important. I want to feel strong. I have a 35-pound toddler that loves to be carried, so that's important to me. It has become such a value in my life that even when it is, quote, imperfect or it takes longer, I really try to build our days around it so that my daughter can be involved. We blast Frozen, you better believe it, because that's what makes her happy, and I stop a lot so that she could do the moves with me. It was not easy at first. It took a learning curve, and I'm sure with more kids and different seasons of life, it takes constant adjustment. Integrating movement in a way that is joyful and nourishing to myself, body, mind, and spirit is a non-negotiable. Number 6, way that I practice self-care that actually works: limiting technology and scrolling. Oftentimes, to me, self-care is really like parenting yourself. Sometimes it's about doing the things that you know are good for you, even when they don't feel good in the short term. I do not subscribe to the notion that when I feel like it, I'm just gonna binge Netflix, or when I feel like it, I'm just gonna scroll for an hour. I do not say that in judgment, and I used to think, well, this is just the way that I'm self-caring for myself right now. It created so many more problems for me in the long run. How do I feel when I'm done doing that? I feel more restless, more discontent, often more insecure. My brain feels cluttered. Sometimes one of the greatest ways that we can care for ourselves is doing the hard thing in the moment, knowing that it's the best thing for us in the long term. And for me, getting off social media, limiting my screen time, in general, minimizing my media consumption is one of those things. Putting boundaries in place to create the space that I need to thrive. I am less insecure this way. I'm more content with what I have. I'm more content with my body. I'm more content with my marriage when I'm not constantly given things to compare them to. That to me is truly caring for myself. Number 7, minimize my belongings. Would it be a video of mine if I didn't talk about decluttering and having less stuff? Similar to limiting technology and scrolling, decluttering, thinking twice about buying that thing, those are not things that necessarily feel good in the moment. It would be easy for me to just purchase emotionally right now, or it would be easy for me to just say yes, and put this off and skip decluttering in this way and just let things pile up, knowing that it's going to create more stress in my life. Really pursuing the more of less is a high value of me and is actually a way that I care for myself and ultimately for my family. The last way that I practice self-care that actually works: voicing my needs and asking for help. I used to repel help. So much pride, so much unwillingness to admit when I needed help, to voice my needs in a kind way. So many issues. I have been humbled over the years in good ways. Not just to the awareness that I need to ask for help, but in even how I am voicing my needs, especially in marriage. Learning to do so in a way that is vulnerable and grace-filled and that isn't accusatory or full of assumptions. I cannot be the only one that would slip into those patterns of passive aggressively like dropping hints at things that I needed help with, or when I felt so overwhelmed because I didn't actually voice my needs directly and ask for help, being angry that maybe he didn't anticipate my needs, or being angry that I'm doing this alone. Learning to speak up, ask for help, voice my needs has been so life-giving, not just to me individually, because I don't feel as lonely and I don't feel as overwhelmed, but for the sake of my marriage, it has allowed me to feel a lot more like I have a sense of community, especially in motherhood, which I think can be very isolating for people. A really helpful resource for this specifically, I've mentioned it on here before, it's the book Nonviolent Communication, I think by Marshall Rosenberg. That's it. 8 ways that I practice self-care that actually work and have radically changed my life. I hope that these were encouraging to you no matter what season of life you're in. I make videos on all things slow living, minimalism, intentional motherhood. If you're into that, I would love to see you join our community. I will see you in the next video.